Alright guys, so back again. I'm going to do some upgrades to my shed. First upgrade is I'm going to add some more batteries. As you remember, I went with these batteries because they're smaller and they were cheaper than buying a big oversized battery. But whatever battery you guys use, you must use deep cycle batteries. Now what I'm doing here is just removing the protective tabs from the terminals. And I'll show you why in a second. So these are 4 batteries I bought off of eBay, totaling of $84, which isn't bad. So they're 12 amps each. And when I combine them with the other 2 batteries that I have, I should have a total of 72 amps capacity. So if you see right here, I got my little battery meter tester thing. So what I'm going to do is test the voltage of these batteries. So whatever battery you get, make sure you test the voltage of each of them so you know that they're working well. In this case, I have these are 12 volt batteries, so I'm going to turn this guy on. Okay. And then I'm going to put this here and see if I could do this with 2 hands. One here and one there. Okay, that one is reading at 13 volts, so that's fine. It's okay if it's a little bit more than the prescribed voltage. It's only when it's less where it's a problem. This one, 12.99. 13. So those are together 12.99. So they all seem to be working fine, running at close to 13 volts, and that's good. So the next step is I'm going to start. Let me turn this off. I'm going to start to build. Get the cables ready for that, for these terminals. As you already know, I have the wire already in stock, and I have some female connectors right here, if you see that. And how they'll go is, if I put this on right, no, I'm sorry, it'll go more like that, and they'll slide in place like that. Connect the wires, so on and so forth. So, alright, so let me get that started and I'll show you what's next. Got another upgrade here. This is my solar charger, my new new charge controller. I'm just getting it out of the box. Sorry for the mishandling of the phone. So this one has an LCD screen on it that will give me more digital readouts of the voltage and the battery capacity. 15 bucks on eBay, can't beat it. All right, I'll be back and show you what I've accomplished. All right, so I'm all done. As you can see, I've got my wires ready to hook them up to here, to the terminals. And as you remember my battery box, that's basically how the wiring is going to work, but it's going to have all 6 batteries in there. So sorry for the brief interruption. My wife just came in and just kind of startled me a bit. So anyway, as you can see, these batteries are just kind of like loosely put in place. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm going to have more batteries in here, I see this piece of wood here. I bought a couple of them. I'm just going to basically create some slots where the batteries will fit in place and kind of stay in place as I need them. Wish I could show you this, but I don't know quite how, but I created an Excel spreadsheet that factored in the dimensions and the length or the width of the batteries and the wood that I'm going to be using, and it calculated to I can store basically 7 batteries across with 2 rows going up and down. So basically I can have a 14 battery array set up in this box, 14 battery box. So but anyway, let me get started on that, and then we'll see the finished product. Okay, so here it is. Got my spacers and everything in place to hold the batteries somewhat steady. And I got all the wiring disconnected for the moment, but I don't know if you can see this, but this is one of these kind of I guess adapter to change this terminal from 1 prong to 2 prong, and as you can see, you can just slide it on and you can hook up multiple wires to this, and this will come in handy a little later. You will see why. Jeez, let me see if I can put this thing back on there. Alright, and like I said, I have everything disconnected, and if you're wondering how I did this, these 2 wires right here will feed both ends of the battery array, and it will power the inverter. This is the inverter wire, that's the inverter, and if you're wondering how I did this setup, I use what's called an insert nut, which is this guy. So what you do is you drill a hole, tap this end in, and you have a flat surface to use a regular like nut or a screw like I did right here. And came in handy, a couple of bucks at Home Depot. I would recommend it. So alright, give me a few seconds and I'll set up the wiring, and let's see if it works. Okay, so I got the battery, all the batteries together, and as you can tell, they're all set in parallel, and I'll let you guys Google what that means when you're working with batteries. And I got this, the negative hooked up to one end of the battery array, and then the positive hooked up to the other end. And that's why you see that I need those little adapters for the terminals, because they allow me to use multiple connections together. So if all goes well, I could shut this. And just so you know, like I said, this is the inverter, but when you hook up battery cables to inverters, they normally spark. So don't let that freak you out. One way to avoid that is they recommend you getting an inline breaker like what I got here. And what I did was I tripped the breaker, hooked up the cables, and now when I turn the breaker on, like, I'll set that. Yep. Now that I don't have to worry about a spark. So let's see how well this guy does. I got my heat gun, my plug. Oh, it never fails. It's the highest setting. That's the trip. That's the safety mechanism in the inverter. When I use the highest setting of the heat gun, it'll trip. And this one has a maximum of 1500 watts continuous, but a 3000 watt surge. So he took the surge over 1500 watts, but then it failed. So eventually I'll get a higher capacity inverter. So But to show you this works, I'm going to put this on the lowest setting. Works just fine. Now all I need to do is hook this back up to my solar panel array, and I should be good. And there will be a video on that too.